Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. For a couple of years now, many of you have been telling me about a game called Age of Decadence that's supposedly a shining example of exactly the type of cRPG we love to play here at Slandered Gaming. I still haven't tried Age of Decadence yet, hoping to do that next year, but developer Iron Tower Studios is back with a new game, Colony Ship, a post-Earth role-playing game. I believe this was in beta for quite some time and there was a demo, but I ignored all of that since I was busy with other titles. A couple of people popped up on my Discord, link in the description below, asking me to play this and provide my thoughts. We've got some downtime before Rogue Trader, so I figured, why not? I'll give it a whirl. Holy smokes, this is absolutely my kind of game, and I am having a fantastic time. I haven't finished the game yet, so this video isn't a full review. I'll just go into my thoughts thus far. Also, we'll do this a little bit differently than usual. I'll get into what I don't like about the game first, and then we'll dive into why it's been such a blast. I want to start with the cons because I think there are some obvious ones we should get out of the way. From a production standpoint, the game doesn't have the bells and whistles you might expect after playing other titles such as Wrath of the Righteous or most certainly Baldur's Gate 3. The graphics are alright, but certainly nothing mind-blowing. The special effects and combat are mediocre. There's a limited amount of options to customize your character's appearance, and perhaps most importantly, there is zero voice acting in this game. I know for many of you, the last part brought this video to a screeching halt, but for those folks willing to brave a game that comes with those issues, there really is a whole lot to love here. First and foremost, while there is no voice acting, I also haven't run into a lot of situations where I'm forced to read through huge blocks of text that take forever to get to a point. Colony Ship is very good at cutting to exactly what is interesting or what you need to know and moving the conversation forward. There were a couple of exceptions, but for the most part, the script feels very tight and it's been rather easy to read everything that they provide. Part of the reason for that is the setup for this game is phenomenal. Earth has become a complete wasteland, and consequently thousands of people have decided to get on a colony ship, headed to another world where civilization can be built up again hundreds of years later. Shortly into the voyage, many colonists start to view the government as a tyrannical force and take up arms to overthrow it. This results in a wave of violence sweeping across the entire ship that completely shifts the balance of power. Several different factions have sprung up from the wreckage of that carnage, and they are all vying for more control. Making the situation even worse is that many people have completely given up on the original mission. It's not clear if the ship is still on trajectory for the planet, or frankly, if the doors will even open once the ship lands. There's even more concerns regarding the new world that have rocked people's faith, but I'll let you play the game to hear about it. When your character steps out of their apartment for the first time, the first war is already over, but it looks like a new war between factions will break out sooner rather than later. This is a fantastic setup for a fascinating world of people who are struggling to maintain any semblance of peace and stability. When you click on a new game, you'll get two difficulty options, Hero or Underdog, and you cannot change your mind afterwards. Hero is the easy mode for people who just want a relaxing time experiencing the story, while Underdog is considered the default difficulty and makes combat significantly more challenging to the point you might just have to walk away from some fights. Those of you who have been following the channel for some time know that I don't play games for challenge, and oftentimes I'll choose normal or even easy to give myself a more pleasant gaming experience. This time, I immediately chose Underdog because I wanted a gaming experience where I was forced as much as possible to use my wits and intelligence to get out of sticky situations. Colony Ship absolutely did not disappoint in this regard, and personally, I recommend playing on the Underdog difficulty. I believe a pacifist run is possible, and for the most part, I have completely avoided combat. There were a couple of times though where it felt cowardly to back down and I decided to fight. The game absolutely punished me in these sequences, but it also felt super rewarding to win those fights. After choosing your difficulty, you get to the character customization screen. As mentioned before, the options to change your appearance are rudimentary, but the options to choose your mechanics are quite robust. You get 16 points that can be distributed across your stats, which are strength, constitution, and the other stats that you would expect. Constitution affects how many implants you can use, and charisma determines how many party members you can have. This is the only time you can increase these stats outside of some implants that may give you one additional point, so this distribution is very important. Next, you get to put points into skills, and you can tag a number of skills depending upon your intelligence score. Tagging a skill raises it by 2 points. All skills start at 1 and the maximum is 10. If you raise a weapon related skill, that will increase its accuracy as well. Outside of character creation, skills level up as you use them. This means if you are playing a character who prefers dialogue over conflict, you'll miss out on many of the chances to raise your combat related skills. This is a far cry from other games like Wrath of the Righteous or Baldur's Gate 3 that allow you to be very persuasive and very effective in combat at the same time. Let's walk through some of the skills and how they're implemented in the game. The melee and range skills obviously make you more effective when using specific weapons. The downside is combat really isn't all that great, not only because it's visually unimpressive, but frankly, there's nothing about the combat system that you haven't already seen if you've played a turn-based game before. It's not bad, but it's definitely mid all the way around. This doesn't bother me because I love a lot of what the game provides outside of combat, but for those who prefer to run and gun, it might be a problem. On the upside, there's a ton of different weapons and ways to approach combat, so from a role-playing standpoint, you can absolutely set up the exact character you want. The gear leans into sci-fi heavy, giving you a wealth of access to energy weapons, shields, stasis bombs, implants, and similar equipment. Armor determines how much armor handling you have. Anytime you put on something stiffer than tinfoil, it'll lower your armor handling stat. If it goes below 0, this impacts your initiative, evasion, and reaction. This is a big deal because the game provides a ton of different armor types and you'll need them to face the absolutely vicious enemies the game throws at you. It doesn't seem like getting shredded in combat increases this stat either, because my main character would absolutely be an expert by now. Biotech is used to extract implants from bodies. The mutiny that the colony ship went through destroyed a lot of equipment and took many lives, so there's nobody around making brand new implants. Instead, when you come across a corpse, sometimes you can pass a biocheck to remove the implant and then find a machine that will place it in yourself or one of your party members. Again, implants are one of the only ways to increase your attribute stats after character creation, so it's very helpful to get as many of them as you can. The dialogue stats are handled in a very unique way as well. Most games let you use persuasion to get higher money rewards, or once in a blue moon you can avoid a fight, but there's still a ton of combat in between those dialogues. Colony ship is totally different in that the majority of potential combat encounters you experience can be avoided by using stealth or charisma related skills. What makes it even more unique compared to just about any game I have played is that persuasion is not a situation where you just click a dialogue and all of a sudden everything is okay. Oftentimes, convincing the thug to give you what you want requires using 2 or all 3 of your charisma skills and possibly your charisma score as well to persuade this person over the course of a full discussion. Consequently, in order to be consistently persuasive, you have to be evenly leveled across all 3 options. This makes using charisma regularly a much more engaging situation because you are never sure what curveball the game is going to throw at you that you may or may not have good enough skills to deal with. The last section of skills are based around stealth. Throughout the game, you'll come across locked doors and chests that require a specific amount of lock-picking skill to open. If you are able to clear that score, then no sneaking around is necessary to unlock the object and see what's inside. Like all RPGs, it's super useful to have somebody skilled in this area on the team. There are also people throughout the game world who you can steal from, and again, if your score clears the necessary check, there's no stealth involved. There is a meter that tracks how much thieving you have done, but I haven't seen any in-game reactivity to it as of yet. The last skill is Sneak, which measures your ability to sneak around in an area and take down an opponent. This is a big deal if you want to avoid combat because, again, there are many sections where talking your way out of the situation isn't an option and sneaking past the hostiles is the only other choice. Most of the time, when you successfully sneak past an area, the enemies leave right afterwards. So while the game gives you the option to use your entire party during these sequences, it's almost always best to use the one member of your party who's actually skilled in this area. The group will automatically be put back together afterwards. The only exception is when you are sneaking to take out a couple of enemies quietly first before starting an all-out brawl. After selecting your skills, you get to choose a feat. Each feat corresponds to a particular aspect of gameplay and helps to specialize your character. Every time you level up, you get to choose another feat. Many of the feats revolve around making your skill progression faster, so while they are really useful, they are not powerful enough to make you truly competent in areas you ignored during character creation. This is why it's so important for you to have party members. So far, I've found 3, and I am not sure how many there are in the game, or if my 4-person team is the largest squad you can have. I focus one of them on stealth-related skills, while the other 2 are completely focused on combat, and so far the experience has been a blast. I still avoid combat as much as I can, but if it has to happen, my party members handle business, while I lay on the ground and try not to bleed out. All of them have their own portraits, backgrounds, personalities, and starting builds. They don't seem to have much banter between each other, but they'll comment on your conversations all the time, and you can chat with them directly to ask a couple of personal questions. I recruited each of them after completing a quest where they asked for help, but it's not clear if they have personal quests beyond the initial meeting. I say all that to say they are not as deep or involved as party members you would experience in Pillars of Eternity, Baldur's Gate, or similar series. However, there's definitely meat on those bones, and I already feel like each party member is their own separate fleshed out character. Bottom line, I am having a great time with Colony Ship so far and appreciate the community making sure that I play it. I definitely plan to provide a full review of the game once I have completed it. Let me know down in the comments if this is a game you plan to play or what your thoughts on it are so far. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. Take care.